All right. So I am far from an expert when it comes to making videos. It's not something that I generally do. And so I fully intend on this being a little bit shaky because I didn't really script it out at all. um, but I have come to some recent conclusions in my life. And I think I have some insight that might be worth sharing. Someone might get something from it. And so I think it's important for everyone to share their stories. And so here it goes. For those of you who knew me in high school, this may come as a little bit of a shock, but for those of you who knew me in college or through the movement more recently, this is probably a long time coming. But essentially, I have made the decision to discontinue my formal college education. I'm dropping out, and I'm dropping into something that I think is a lot more meaningful and worthwhile for me. And so I just kind of wanted to make this video to parse through the different parts of that, and to kind of tell my story in hopes that someone, will get some type of insight or at least understanding of why I'm making this decision and that sort of thing. So a little bit of the backstory. Growing up, I thought that college was the most important part of being a contributing young adult to society. I've always really valued education and thought it really important to constantly learn and that sort of thing. And so, thus, I spent a lot of my high school years doing things that had not a lot of value to me outside of getting into college. I got the straight A's. I founded the student organizations. I was really active in athletics. All of these things that, while I had a generally good high school experience, a lot of this was just to put on a college resume. And so I did it. I got into my dream school, the University of North Carolina at Charlotte, and I was elated. For the college experience that everyone's excited for, yes, but more for the classroom experience, for the relationships that I would form with my professors and peers, for really diving in and asking the big questions, and that sort of thing. And so I stepped on campus really optimistic, and excited to get started with the rest of my life. I walked into my first college class and I was hit upside the head with a whole lot of high school. The students really weren't interested in the material and asking any kind of big or deep questions. A lot of them just kind of wanted to hack their way through, and still a lot of the material that I was learning, I had no practical application to what I wanted to do in life. It was really disheartening, and by the end of my first year, I walked away kind of depressed and just really not fulfilled and not passionate about what I was doing. I was getting good grades and I was being successful, but I didn't really feel like I was adding any value to the world. And people would always say, oh, wait, wait until year 2 or 3 or 4 when you get into the higher level classes. That's kind of where the intellectual journey begins. And so year 1 just kind of felt like a really big waste of my time. But what really kept me going was in the meantime, when I wasn't in class and I was doing my own personal reading and like soul searching, I found the libertarian philosophy. And this just made me so excited. It set my heart on fire. I knew that I was extremely interested in it. And so I attended a conference that was absolutely life changing. I found some people on campus that were interested in the same ideas. And I took a semester off and I moved to a city where I didn't know anyone, took on an internship with Young Americans for Liberty that I thought was way above my head, and I got it, and it wound up being the best time that I've spent in college. And I was introduced to ideas that gave my life a lot of meaning. I was introduced to people that have become huge role models in my life, and I, was doing work day in and day out that was creating value actively, and I could see it, and it felt really good, and I loved it, and I knew that this was kind of what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, was to advocate for human freedom. So I decided to take an extra semester, interned with another pro-liberty organization, wound up spending 8 months in DC, and then returned back to the college life. And now I was dead set on creating this sort of environment that I couldn't find in my classes, outside of my classes, through the student organization. And so put my nose to the grindstone, really built up our chapter on campus and loved what I was doing, created this now self-sustaining community of intellectual people who really want to make active change on campus, who really care, and who were ideologically consistent with me. And it was great. It was the best time I've ever spent in college. And since then, I've taken on more internships and I have, created conferences from the ground up. I've traveled all over the country. I've met some really amazing people, formed some really good connections, and this was all outside of the classroom. And so here I am with a year, maybe a year and a half to go. I feel like I've gotten all that I possibly could out of the college experience. Like I said, this community I think is self-sustaining. I can walk away and it will still be there, which is great. But college is expensive and classes are, in my opinion, a waste of my time. I don't need my degree. I don't agree with the system. I don't like the classroom culture, and so I'm just opting out. It's as simple as that. I'm really thankful for college for teaching me that time is really valuable. And honestly, the time that you spend on this earth is so precious. And I don't want to waste another minute of my life doing things that don't set my heart on fire, things that I'm not really passionate about. There is some anxiety that comes with dropping out, not knowing the future, not knowing exactly what different opportunity I'll pursue or that sort of thing. But what brings me a lot of comfort is knowing that every time that I've followed my heart and my intuition and done what I thought was right, I've gotten a lot of fulfillment and purpose out of it. And every time that I've done what society has said is right or what my teachers or parents have said is right, it's just come with a lot of confusion. And so since dropping out, I feel really happy that I've taken ownership over my life, and that I'm doing what I think is valuable. And I'm not saying that college isn't for everyone. Obviously, there are some professions that require a lot of formal training and that sort of thing. I'm just saying that college isn't right for me right now, and that's okay. So moral of the story, if you're still watching this video, the advice that I would give, the insight that I've gotten is just don't do stuff you hate. It's an Isaac Morehouse quote, but it's so true. If part of your life isn't working, opt out of it and always pursue things that are important to you and that give you a lot of meaning and fulfillment. Thank you so much for listening to my kind of perspective on college and on life, for whatever it's worth to you. And I would love to hear your perspective too, so feel free to reach out. But I'm really optimistic about the future, and thank you all for kind of playing a role in that.